Good afternoon, everyone. This is Arun Verma. I am from the team SIPHER. I, along with Mr. Rajeev Choudhary from Resource Center for Tobacco Control, PGI Chandigarh, are the host for today's national consultation on why and ban in India and 40 other countries, and how Prohibition of E-Cigarettes Act PECA 2019 can be effectively enforced. I will now request Mr. Dr. Rakesh Gupta, who is the president of the SIPHER, as well as the President Director of Public Health Strategic Institute for Public Health Education Research, SIPHER. He is an alumni of Johns Hopkins School of Public Health and TTCRE UCSF. He is the former Director Health Services and Director of Chemical Examiner Lab, Government of Punjab. He is the recipient of WHO WNTD Award. I would request and invite him to welcome our guest of today's national consultation, Dr. Rakesh Gupta.
So, thank you, Mr. Verma. So, this is my proud privilege to welcome all our guests of honor. Mr. P.C. Gupta, he is Dr. P.C. Gupta of Healis, Sekhsaria Institute of Public Health, and is mentor to many of us. Professor K. Srinath Reddy, he is president of the Public Health Foundation. Dr. Joy Chakma, ICMR. So, he was instrumental in writing that white paper which led to the PECA 2019. I also welcome Ms. Preeti Susan, who is a former Secretary MHFW. Under her leadership, that PECA 2019 was enacted. I also welcome Dr. Swasti Charan, he is additional DDG MHFW. Dr. Rana Jay Singh, he is Deputy Regional Director, the Union Southeast Asia. Professor Jonna Cohen, who is director of the IGTC Johns Hopkins School of Public Health, she could not join, so she has sent us a video recording as the time was not suitable for her. So Dr. Jagdish Kaur, I also welcome Dr. Jagdish Kaur. She is the regional advisor, Tobacco Free Initiative, WHO Southeast Asia. I now welcome the panelists. Dr. Murli Rao, he is Deputy Director, DRI, he is an India Revenue Service Officer, Director, DRI, Surat Regional Unit, and Professor Pankaj Chaturvedi, who is in TMH Mumbai, Dr. Praveen Gupta, who is founder of ICANN Care, Dr. Rana Jay Singh, who is Deputy Regional Director in the Union, Dr. Rakesh Gupta from the Rajasthan Cancer Foundation, Mr. Ranjit Singh, who is attorney at law in the Supreme Court of India, Ms. Susan, who is Director Programs Faith Foundation, and Dr. Upendra Bhujani, who is Director IPH. So I welcome you all, and I also welcome all the participants, Professor Dr. Sonu Goel, so who is coordinating with us for this webinar. So I welcome him also, and I welcome my team led by Mr. Arun Verma, Rajeev Choudhary, Nardeep Singh. So I welcome you all. And Mr. Arun Verma, you can just start with the program.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for welcoming all the delegates and the participants. Now I request Professor Sonu Goel, sir, to share the objective of this consultation. So Professor Goel has 18 years of experience in the field of public health, and he has recipient of various awards, including a Young Researcher Award by IAPSM Ford Foundation, Harcharan Singh Oration Award, Vasudeva Oration Award, and many more to his credit. Vice Chair, sir is also a Vice Chair of Tobacco Control Section and leading the Empower Research Group of the Union. And sir, also the Adjunct Associate Clinical Professor in the School of Medicine and Faculty of Education, Health Sciences, University of Limerick, Ireland. So I welcome you, sir, and kindly share the objective of the consultation.
Thank you, Rajeev. I think at the outset, want to congratulate Dr. Rakesh Gupta from SIPHER for organizing this very important and very timely consultation on how that PECA can be effectively enforced. So I think we will be speaking. We have, I think you have heard about the speakers who are here, and they are very illuminary speakers from across organizations who were actually instrumental in the PECA Act, which was enforced in 2019 by Government of India. So, because that was a landmark achievement, when we say in India, the ends ban was there. Many countries could not enforce ends ban, and they were regulating electronic cigarette. But Government of India was quite bold enough to enforce the electronic cigarette ban. But now the another challenge with us is how to effectively enforce, how to implement that ban, because still there are few places in mega cities and even in some villages where this electronic cigarettes are still being sold. And also on the online portal, you can see in some of the states, the electronic cigarettes are still being sold. So the main objective of this consultation and the proposed outcome of this consultation will be that how we can recommend to Government of India, whether it is Ministry of Health and Family Welfare or Ministry of Electronics and Communication, how to enforce or effectively implement this PECA, which is a landmark act, but the implementation is still quite less. So without wasting further, without taking further time, I would, I think, urge our organizers to introduce our next speakers and the guest of honors will speak about. So main objective towards the end will be a one-pager recommendation, which I think Dr. Rakesh Gupta and, from SIPHER and Resource Center will be preparing and will be sending to all the concerned stakeholders. Over to Dr. Rakesh.
Thank you, Dr. Sonu.
Thank you, Dr.
For giving
Sonu.
a very nice and brief objective of the today's consultation and the challenges being faced and encountering, especially the implementation of the PECA 2019. Thank you so much, Dr. Sonu. Now I invite our guest of honor, Dr. P.C. Gupta. Next slide, please. Dr. P.C. Gupta, who will be giving us an overview of the issues of today's national consultation. Dr. P.C. Gupta is a well-known personality and it doesn't require any introduction, I think. Still, a brief introduction about him is he's a director of Healis Sekhsaria Institute of Public Health and Navi Mumbai, holds an academic appointments at Arnold School of Public Health, University of South Carolina, and at the Harvard T.C. Chan School of Public Health. He has published hundreds of research papers in the peer-reviewed journals. I request now our guest of honor, Dr. P.C. Gupta, to please give an overview of the issue. Welcome. Over to Dr. P.C. Gupta, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Verma. First of all, congratulations to SIPHER and the entire group for organizing this important consultation. And I think it is quite clear that even though we have PECA, which completely and comprehensively bans electronic cigarettes and HTPs and all that, but still, why do we require this consultation? And that is quite clear because a lot of work still needs to be done even after the banning. Now, there are many, of course, excellent speakers who will be there. So I will just give a very brief kind of very basic overview of the subject as I see it. Now, the first point I would like to make is the name electronic is a deception by the industry. It does not satisfy any definition of cigarette anywhere. So what it is it's a drug delivery device. Only thing for deception industry has done that it is colored, shaped, and is size of cigarette. And to complete the deception, what industry has done is they have put a red LED at the end, which lights up when the contraption is sucked. It has no other purpose, that red LED, except for the deception. So as you can all see, the whole thing is a deception by the industry. And that is because they compare this product with cigarettes. Now, this is marketed as a consumer product. So this toxicity of this product needs to be compared with other consumer products that are there in the market, not with cigarettes. Cigarettes, we know, are the most toxic, most harmful consumer product. So anything you compare with cigarette, then it will fall short. Yes, it is less harmful than cigarette. So that comparison is absolutely no point at all. Also, industry has given this impression, and many academics have also gone with it, public health people, that it's a cessation, it helps in cessation. But even after a lot of research, there is no conclusive proof that it is helps in cessation. It is a cessation device. And second point, the industry has not applied, even to my knowledge, not even to a single regulatory agency anywhere in the world for its acceptance as a cessation device, because they know it cannot be, it won't even pass the first test of a marketable device. The point that worries us right now most in India, especially everywhere in the world and especially in India, because we are seeing its effect, is that it is targeted and marketed specifically towards adolescents. And as a result, we know that in the USA, for example, there are now more e-cigarette smokers than there were cigarette smokers at one time. So their marketing to adolescents is very successful, and it has been recognized that they are marketing to adolescents. So just there have been lots of cases going on against the premier e-cigarette company Juul, and just the last month, Juul has agreed to pay more than $438 million to about 3 dozen states in the USA because it was marketing to children and adolescents. So there is no doubt about that. Now, India, we have rightly banned, absolutely rightly banned ends, and through a separate independent law. It does not depend on quantify or any other law for banning ends and similar product. But the issue that we are dealing with is enforcement. The enforcement needs to be strengthened. And the biggest glaring loophole or the weakness in enforcement is that e-cigarettes are now available in the kiosks, in the tobacco kiosks near the schools. And that is having a very negative effect. Even if kids can't buy e-cigarette individually, after all, they are somewhat quite expensive. What they are doing, we know that they are pooling their resources and buying e-cigarettes and using them together. Very dangerous. But that is what is happening. The research shows that that's how it is happening. And they are widely available in the kiosks that are near schools. So I think one of the recommendations that comes out of this ought to be that the kiosks near schools, first of all, there should be none within 100 yards. But if there are, and if there are near after 100 yards also, those need to be especially monitored for the sale and storage of e-cigarette. Recently, just a couple of days back, there was a video which became viral and very famous of a girl smoking e-cigarette, and that in a public place, in a garba, and that became viral. So that really shows the extent of the problem that we are facing here. And obviously we are in public health and we can't be simply mute spectators to this problem. And that's how I welcome this consultation, which is very timely. And I will look forward to the deliberations and the recommendations that will come out of this. So thank you all very much, and back to you, Rajeev or Dr. Verma.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing this overview on this particular issue. That is very important. So now this, I request the next guest, Dr. Joy Chakma. Dr. Joy Chakma, ICMR Division of NCD. Sir is MBBS, MD in Community Medicine, and Administration from NIHFW, Faculty of Medicine Science, University of Delhi, India. Sir specialized in clinical medicine, and sir has 17 years of total experience and presently working as a scientist E and Deputy Director General in Division of NCD, ICMR, and he was in the team which wrote a white paper on ants, which lead to PECA 2019. So I request sir to share a white paper on ICMR and latest development in understanding about ants. Over to you, sir.
Yeah. Just one. I think there is little technical glitch. Okay, sorry for that. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Rakesh and team for organizing such an important meeting at this moment of time. The importance of the meeting has already been highlighted by Dr. Sonu Goel, and why it is important and what the end is has already again highlighted by Dr. Rakesh Gupta ji in his brief talk. So I will just give you an overview on what ICMR white paper collated the evidence at that moment of time, and what the latest development that has been there from 2019 after the bans of ant and introduction of, amalgamation of PECA, and after the post-ban of ants and e-cigarettes. So just to give you an overview, what the ICMR white paper highlighted on this ants or e-cigarettes, this is a potential harmful health effect of e-cigarette use to human health system. And there was an increasing trend of use by the adolescent that has already been highlighted by Dr. Gupta with some data also. It's definitely the research shows, then it acts as a gateway to nicotine addiction, and then subsequently switching to regular tobacco smoking and conventional cigarette use, and also dual use. And the device, as nicely elaborated by Dr. Gupta, it's a device used like a consumer product. So that can be used for, that can be misused rather than used. Misuse for using other psychotropic substances. That has been already, they are widely there in the news when the Ibali incidents happened in US, the tetrahydrochloride and other psychotropic substances. So as Dr. Gupta has already highlighted, this is totally not a cessation tools, and there are a lot of myths and perception created by the tobacco industry, the manufacturing companies, that this could be a safer alternative to smoking. So there is an aggressive marketing and promotion policy with attractive marketing strategies appealing the youth, and the industry is quite successful in this also. And there is also other concern of safety, like there are incidences of poisoning, explosion, fire, and it's also potential risk factor to environmental hazards with the use of e-waste. And also, as Dr. Gupta said, it has not been regulated throughout the world, because the manufacturer or the industry has not applied to any regulatory body, because they know that they will not be successful in getting regulatory permit. So just to give you an brief glimpse, what the harm reduction policy of tobacco industry is, it is nothing but like an old wine in a new bottle. They came with an e-cigarette, and this tobacco harm reduction policy is quite old, and it's not a new approach. That as a convincing people that safe alternative to conventional tobacco smoking, that has came out in 1930s when there was no filter cigarette. Tobacco was used as a raw product, So they introduced filter cigarette during 1930s to 40s. And they were successful with their marketing policies that filter and flavor cigarette are safer alternative to smoking. And by 1960s, they dominated the market. And now, as you know, how market rise to filter cigarette from 0.5% in 1950s to almost 98% of the tobacco product. So currently, again, this is nothing new. This is what I will rather say as an old wine in a new bottle coming out and ends with a device, which is more of consumer device. As Dr. Gupta has said, it's an electronic device. There's a chamber and there's a battery so that evaporation can be done. Then there is a chamber for filling e-liquid. And to get the smoking sensation, they have to evaporate. So they use a lot of chemical, propyl glycol and other things and flavoring agents to suit the people to test the smoking and all these things. So I just give may not be the latest data, little data. So in 2010, the e-cigarette market global share globally was 0.7 billion pound. By 2016, it rose to 6.1 billion with almost 800% increase in the market growth. And by 2020, 12 billion with a compounded average growth of about 17% per year. So just to elaborate what is new, what we know, what we do not know. We know by now it's not safe, it's harmful to health. There is no conclusive evidence that this can be a cessation alternative or cessation tool or safe alternative. There are many chemicals and chemical substances used in the e-cigarette for flavoring agent and for mixing with the e-liquid, which are known carcinogen and toxic to human body. That is, research has been shown clear evidence on that. And there is countries which decided to regulate, now struggling to regulate it. As Dr. Gupta has already pointed out, how the countries and adoptance among the non-user of tobacco and even adolescents. Because of the targeted marketing policy, there's an increasing trend of use among the never smoker, youth are the major target, and also dual use. And what still we do not know, because vaping aerosol contain thousands of unknown chemical and substances that has never been disclosed by this manufacturer. And there are a lot of research are there. They are pointing out that such type of chemicals, which are also very difficult to identify even through various advanced research. And there is also no epidemiological study and trajectory of this product, even if they say that it's less harmful than tobacco, but that long-term epidemiological study of benefit is not there. And long-term health impact study is also not there. And there is no study on implication of dual use. So there is also not any study on impact and outcome of countries who decided to regulate it. So there are with many unknowns, with little knowns, it's a very big challenge for us to keep our ban on ends effective and sustained. So there are a lot of challenges as already highlighted, that there is illegal trade. Although with banning, we closed that door, but we could not still completely close the windows. That's the e-marketing companies and other are doing through social medias and other things. So we have to take strong measures how we can close these windows. And also the illegal trade that already pointed out, there are still available at the point of sale with pan hookahs and cigarette hookahs along with other tobacco products. So that's become very important for us. And also this implementation of PECA 2019 lies with the different stakeholders, with different ministries, as I already mentioned that windows need to be closed, that action need to be taken by the, METI and other industries, and also along with the home ministries and other things. So we strongly support that sustained effort and strong effort should be taken to strictly implement the PECA so that we succeed in implementing this ban throughout the country, and we can save the future of our youth, because India is a country of youth. So our economic dividends should not be, put at risk. So with that, I thank you all again. Thank you, the organizer, for giving me this opportunity to highlight very briefly on this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chakma, for giving a very elaborate and sharing your knowledge on the subject of the latest development in the field of these ants, and also the policies of the, this industry, which is an eyewash, their claims on the harm reduction of the, the effects of these ants on the youth as well as in the society. Thank you so much. Now I'll invite Ms. Preeti Sudhan, who is an administrative officer and former Secretary of Health. She'll be, sharing her knowledge on the chronology of the events which has led to the ban on the ants, because she was at the helm of the affair when all these things that happened in the government of India. Madam Preeti Sudhan is a 1983 batch IS officer. She served as a Secretary Health from October 2017 to July 2020. She is a WHO appointed members of the independent panel for pandemic preparedness and response, IPPPR. She has a doctorate in economics and social policy and planning from the London School of Economics. She has been trained in the public finance management in Washington. She made a mark at an international level as a chairperson on the COP8 and is well known for a comprehensive ban on e-cigarettes by the Government of India in December 2019. She has been the key strategist in times of the COVID-19 pandemic, which led to taking very, very important decisions to, control this COVID-19 pandemic. Over to Madam Preeti Sudhan, please.
Yeah, good afternoon to everybody. Can you hear me? I hope my voice is clear.
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay. So now, actually, all of you here, Dr. Rakesh Gupta, Dr. Sonu Goel, and Dr. Gupta and others, you already know the history of how we actually came to ban e-cigarettes. But let me take you through this journey. And I think I was very fortunate to have had this chance of, being at the helm of affairs when this was done. And it's a personal story and it's an institutional story. As you know, India had already done quite a lot of work in tobacco control. Let me take you through the journey. Apart from ratifying international treaties on global tobacco control, which is a legislative framework of WHO, we also had taken price and tax measures to reduce the demand. We had, there was regulation of contents of tobacco products and disclosures. We had POPTA Act in place. There was deterrent packaging and labeling norms. There was prohibition of advertising, promotion, sponsorship. We had special awareness measures, as you know, on tobacco in the films. It was mandatory that they display the small ad regarding smoking being injurious to health. We had already put in place a free helpline, quit line. We also had made a proviso in the amended JJ Act 2015 that the sale of tobacco to minors is a criminal offense punishable by 7 years of rigorous punishment. So these are, and actually we were one of the few countries to have such a powerful deterrent that firewalls are kits. However, there was this new emerging, as my predecessor speakers have also said, threat, which came in the form of electronic nicotine delivery systems. They are not e-cigarettes, as again the predecessor speaker said, they are a nicotine delivery system. It's to be understood, containing a toxic addictive chemical nicotine available with in nearly 7,000 flavors. And India, with its young population, was viewed as a lucrative market. A committee of experts was set up, coordinated by dedicated doctor from the ministry. This committee and later a task force of ICMR that, as has been elaborated, they also looked into it and suggested a ban. But let me take you through that what actually started this, my personal journey and institutional journey of India to ban. In October 2018, I represented India as, presiding over the 8th session of WHO's FCTC conference of parties, as they call COP8. Now, there was a discussion on ends, but there was a lot of confusion. The countries were looking for an evidence-based research. Interestingly, global evidence against ends was also starting to emerge. In March 2019, it was March 2019, I had gone with the MHFOW team for an Indo-US visit. We had these formal talks with the US side. Now the US, the talks were for about, I think 3-4 days, and on various aspects of health cooperation between the two countries. And, interestingly, the US side was very forthcoming about their concern on e-cigarettes. And some of the studies that they shared with us were really revealing. So they had conducted a US National Youth Tobacco Survey from 2017 to 18. And they found that the e-cigarette use increased by 77% among high school students and about 48.5% among middle school students. So in just a year, that was the percentage of increase. And according to US Surgeon General, as they call the head of the health department there, 1 in every 5 high school students and 1 in every 20 middle school students used e-cigarettes in 2018. Subsequently, by January 25th, 2019, San Francisco became the first US city to ban sale of e-cigarettes. The New York Health Department issued advisory to inform people of this emerging health threat of severe pulmonary disease associated with use of vape products. This was on August 15, 2019. A vaping warning was issued after dozens fell ill, first due to vaping. This was Oregon on August 24th, 2019. And the New York Health Department was probing about 11 cases of severe pulmonary diseases. This I'm talking about August 26, 2019. So, this sort of very evidence-based information was emerging. And then on September 11, 2019, the US president announced that FDA will come up with guidelines to remove all favored e-cigarettes from the markets. Interestingly, this has not been done. And as you know, that Goel was sued. Again, one of the predecessor speakers also said, after being left, a teenager sued Goel after being left with lungs like a 70-year-old's. This was September 15th, 2019. So this is the background, this is the evidence that was emerging after we came back from US visit, having this kind of a sensitization on e-cigarettes. And there was this, young assistant secretary who was put on the job to do all research on whatever she could find. And this is what she had also come up with, grateful to her. And then, the new government came up, the second time this government came up in May 2019. And on request, they included the first, this issue of e-cigarettes in the first 100 days agenda. So this exhibited highest political will that this issue should be looked into. Now, since ENDS was never approved in India, an advisory was issued by us. When I say us, I mean the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, to the states to stop the illegal sale. Now, 16 states actually prohibited e-cigarettes. But the action of the government and the central government advisory was challenged by in several courts, and it was stayed by the courts. So as I told you, that evidence was forthcoming regarding what was happening in US, and we were very concerned. Now, legal opinion suggested, we took legal opinion from the then AG, I had personally gone, and they suggested that an ordinance to stop the march of ENDS in India, and later with a bill placed in Parliament, would be the sure way out. So there was a GOM, as they form a committee under ministers. This was under the chairpersonship of the FM. So such was the understanding of our, political bosses, that the FM recommended the ban in just one sitting. So an ordinance banning e-cigarettes was approved on September 18th, 2019. As expected, it was challenged in the court. However, no stay was given. And, as you know, that COVID-19 had also started emerging by that time, end of 2019. And it was also SAGE Open Medical Case Reports and Lancet. They carried studies saying that lung injuries caused by COVID-19 and its manifestations are similar to those caused by e-cigarettes. These were the new studies that were published by SAGE and Lancet. So fever, cough, shortness of breath, chest pain, hypoxia, along with detection of lung opacities on imaging are some of the common overlapping symptoms. Now, as you know, I have also written an op-ed actually on 5th December 2020 in Financial Express on this entire journey. So we very successfully banned e-cigarettes on 5th with Act. So we rectified that ordinance, and the ordinance was replaced by an Act. And rest is, of course, history. And today we are now talking about its implementation. Yes, I agree with you that lots needs to be done. And this conference is a good beginning to actually reaffirm that we need to continuously work on it, because India is a huge market. So the threat of, false propaganda, of advocacy of e-cigarettes as a harm reduction instrument, all that will go on. So we have to be on the guard, and we need to continuously work to ensure that this ban is implemented properly. So thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you for letting us know the chronology of the events. And I must admit that you are more of a public health specialist than many of us, and you are, in fact, a mentor to many of us. So thanks a lot. Thank you.
Rajeev?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. So with this, I request Dr. Rana J. Singh, sir, our next speaker, to share on the position of the union on ends. So, sir is a Deputy Regional Director in International Union Against Tuberculosis and Lung Disease, New Delhi, India. Sir is a medical doctor with MD in pulmonary medicine. And sir has 25 year plus a year of experiences in the public health, focusing on management and tobacco control. Sir is a master trainer of courses for mid and senior level manager, and sir currently supporting tobacco and NCD control program in Southeast Asia region. So I welcome you, sir.
Thank you, Rajeev. Please give me screen share rights. Rajeev?
Yes, sir. Given, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, it is visible.
Okay, okay.
So,
Thank you.
Dr. Rana, we need to be very brief about the presentation.
Yes, yes,
so,
yes,
since
yes,
we
yes.
are being.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone. So we have already heard a journey to prohibition of electronic cigarette act in India. So Dr. Gupta, he has given overview why it is required. Madam Preeti Sudan, who led us, all of us, for that prohibition and this act. So she briefed the journey. So I think at Union, I think it was in, still I remember in 2010, when we all started talking about this product, when it was really, we were seeing larger number of references to this product. I personally studied it and observed it maybe in our region, in Southeast Asia region, in India. So we at Union studied a lot of literature which was available at that time in 2010. And at that time, a few national and international organizations, they have come up with very small references or some kind of positions, not exactly positions, I would say, their views, that what are their views about that product. So at that time, we went through a lot of literature, and Union came with its first statement in 2010. So this is about the history, and our current statement, which says where bans are best, why low and middle income countries must prohibit e-cigarette and heated tobacco product sales to truly.
Dr. Rana,
yes.
Dr. Rana, can you put the slideshow?
Yes, yes.
Can you put it in the slideshow? Right.
Yes.
Thank
Okay.
you.
So this is our current statement, and before that, we have come up with our statements as early as in 2013, 2015, and 2018. And this was the time when we also started discussing about this product here in India also. So Union and Ministry of Health had its first two meetings, first in 2013, and then Ministry of Health invited a large meeting where I think many of colleagues who are in this meeting, they were present under then Additional Secretary, Mr. C.K. Mishraji. So thereafter, that was the first consultation in 2014. So it was almost same time when we started discussing about this product in our country also. So thereafter, we had these three statements, and our current statement, which dates to 2020, where bans are best, why low and middle income countries must prohibit e-cigarette and HTPs. So in 2020, Union feels it's imperative to point out that while the discourse is going on, whether it is in media, academic papers, among us, the public health community, but most of that information is from high income countries, which is not sufficient. So that was very clear. So narrative must be extended to low and middle income countries where e-cigarette and heated tobacco products are being aggressively introduced and marketed, often with little or no regulatory framework in place. So this is our statement, which focused on low and middle income countries. In these countries, youth are particularly vulnerable. And at that time, there was again another WHO position. So we agreed with the WHO position and also wishes to highlight that all those things are very important. So it is for these reasons that WHO Union recommends protection and preventive measures for e-cigarette. And what is the case? Why Union recommended case for sales ban? So this is very important. I still remember at that time when in all discussions are happening, there was many people who are in pro regulation, but why ban was crucial. So we provided 10 arguments, especially for low and middle income countries. First is industry targets youth. This is epidemic. There is an epidemic. You have already seen. There is epidemic rise in e-cigarette use in youth in many high-income countries, exposing them to lifetime addiction. Please see, this is very important. Then second is youth transition from e-cigarette to tobacco. Now many studies have already shown that there is 2 to 4 times there is chances that youth who are using or who are starting e-cigarette, they are likely to use tobacco. Then insufficient harm reduction evidence among smokers, which is leading to dual use. Now all those who started e-cigarette to quit maybe or to have less harm, so they are now dual users. Net public health outcome. This is very important again for countries to understand, considering the enormous damage e-cigarette and HTP will cause to youth in low and middle income countries, and insufficient evidence on reduced health damage to adult smokers. The net public health outcome of e-cigarette and HTP in LMCI is almost you can say is very limited. Then novel products are a distraction. This is happening even with the current tobacco use which we are having. Please. Then novel products will divert the resources from tobacco control. You see, still globally, very few countries have effective tobacco control policies as recommended by WHO, RCTC. So what will happen if we have more such products and their effective regulation of e-cigarette and HTPs? It would be an additional cost to countries in addition to tobacco control, which they are trying to do. Then novel products enable industry interference. Already we have seen in last few years, there is huge industry interference. All those people who are manufacturing cigarettes or manufacturing tobacco products, now they are again in this business. Low and middle income country context is vastly different from UK and high income countries. Many people are giving examples of UK and their policies, but that is not at all applicable to our country. So it is not possible. And then finally, as a public health, safety must come first. There is a basic principle, first do no harm. So these were the 10 arguments which are considered by the union, along with the large number of studies, both tobacco industry sponsored studies or independent studies. So all those were considered before union came up with its position, the latest position of 2020. So for these reasons, union argues that introducing new highly addictive nicotine and tobacco products into low and middle income country is egregious. E-cigarette and HTPs have strong potential to overwhelm governments and exacerbate the tobacco epidemic. So the key to tobacco control lies in adoption and implementation of population level evidence-based policies outlined in WHO framework convention on tobacco control. So this is about union's position. So now here in India, I think union was involved from day one when we had first consultation in collaboration with the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. And thereafter, we also started working with the state governments, and almost 16 states and many districts, they prohibited e-cigarette in their respective state. And that further helped the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare when already 16 states has prohibited e-cigarette at subnational level. So it was also made a task of our respected Dr. Madam Preeti Sudanji that already when many states have done. So I think that also gave a big argument that yes, I think we can go for that. And now what is required? You see, we are closing.
Dr.
Yes.
Rana, now we need to conclude because there are many more.
That is concluded. So as far as the recommendation is concerned, after this PECA, after this legislation in 2019, we are now supporting states in implementation and enforcement. But still, that is a big challenge. So strong recommendation. And first recommendation is enforcement. Both at point of sale, where now it is becoming a big challenge, as well as online. For that, I think this is something which we need to do. We have a law, very effective law, where clear mechanism has also been explained. Who are the authorized enforcement officials? That is clearly defined in the law. So right now, we need to help and support states in implementation or enforcement of this legislation. So thank you very much. Over to Dr. Rakesh, Mr. Verma.
Thank you, Dr. Rana J. Singh. Thank you so much for sharing with us the stand or the position taken by the union against the use of the hands, especially in the low and middle income groups, and as well as the contribution made by it in our country as well. Now, Dr. Professor K. Srinath Reddy, Padma Bhushan, who has joined, I'll request Dr. Rakesh Gupta to introduce him before he can address the guests of our
Yes. So, Dr. Reddy, are you with us, sir? So, have you joined, sir? Actually, he has been busy since morning. Okay, thank you. So, Dr. Reddy, he is President of Public Health Foundation of India. He is a former professor and head Department of Cardiology at AIIMS, Delhi, and he did DM Cardiology from AIIMS itself. So, he is MSc in Epidemiology from McMaster University from Canada, and he has also served as an adjunct professor of epidemiology at the Harvard University. He is an honorary professor of medicine at the University of Sydney and a recipient of the WHO Director General's Award for Outstanding Global Leadership in Tobacco Control. And he is also winner of the Luther Terry Medal for Leadership in Tobacco Control. So we are very obliged to have you with us. I know that you have been busy throughout the day. So thank you for joining. Thank you. And he'll be joining without the video. He has requested you. Thank you. Thank you. So I think, Arunji, you can call Madam Jagdish Kaur, Dr. Jagdish Kaur.
All right. Rajeev.
Arun, can we go away with this presentation or this introduction? I think people know me in the brevity of time.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Jagdish. Please,
thank you so
carry
much.
on. Thank you so much. All right.
I'm not. I'm trying to share my screen. Just a minute. Can you?
It is visible. Yeah, it is visible.
I'll just put it in the presentation mode.
Yeah.
Okay. Why I want to the end? Just a minute. Okay. So we just start from here. Okay. Okay, so we are talking here this morning about this afternoon about WHO's position on hands. Thanks to the organizers for inviting me for this. On my video too. Okay. Why it's not moving now? Is there any this thing at your end? I'm not able to move the slides.
No. Rajeev, can you please check?
Dr. Jagdish, please place your cursor on the slide and then
Yeah,
press.
I'm doing that only.
And then
No, it moves.
please check.
Okay, it is moving.
Yeah, it is moving. It is moving.
Yes,
Thanks. So we know that ENDS contain toxic compounds and they are harmful. So we are not prohibited. Nicotine products like e-cigarettes should be strictly regulated. Even though these harmful products should never be available to children, we see alarmingly high rates of use by children in many countries and companies marketing through social media in ways that attract children. And many speakers before me mentioned about that. This is one of the social tiles, which we prepared for the campaign of tobacco exposed children who use e-cigarettes are twice as likely to smoke cigarettes later in life. And Mrs. Sudan also mentioned about the US. So the industry lobbies with the government for little or no regulation on these products based on unproven or speculative claims. They do this around the world, putting pressure on the governments from the United States to Brazil and Thailand. Globally, 32 countries have banned sale of electronic cigarettes, and there are 5 in the Southeast Asia region, including India. Countries that originally had a lenient approach to the regulation of e-cigarettes are now tightening their regulation to protect the next generation, given the marked increase in the use of these products in their jurisdictions. So countries are increasingly considering bans, which is, an extreme form of regulation. So ban on heated tobacco products as of December 2020, like we have data till that, 11 countries, including India, they had banned sales of heated tobacco products. And besides India, we have Brazil, DPR, Korea, Ethiopia, Iran, Mexico, Norway, Panama, Singapore, Syria, Timor-Leste, Cambodia, and Mauritius have joined this club recently. So tobacco industry interference, if we talk about, in fact, which is the most important part in this entire scenario, there has been huge opposition by the industry, which puts sustained pressure on the governments to lift the ban on the sale of novel and emerging nicotine and tobacco products. Like in our region, Thailand is under constant pressure by the industry to roll back the ban which is there. And every time, it's there a few months, they'll just come back to us, to WHO, to give them more evidence for the argument. So, however, many governments now, they can see through the tactics of the industry, whose primary aim is to maximize profits, and they have stood their ground to protect the future of their children. So if the governments are able to see through this, they will remain strong on these bans, the measures which they have taken. So that is what they decided. But then industry will constantly try and influence governments to roll back the ban, which is there, and where it is not there, not to put that ban. For example, many countries are struggling to bring in the ban, but then there is interference at the highest level. So WHO FCTC COP6, Conference of the Party, they took up this matter and invited parties to consider prohibiting or regulating ENDS, including as tobacco products, medicinal products, consumer products, or other categories as appropriate, considering a high level of protection for the human health. So this is what, when COP took note of this important issue. Then in the COP8, it was reminded to the parties that their commitments under the WHO FCTC. So when they are addressing the challenges which are put by novel and emerging tobacco products, such as heated tobacco products, then, they have to prioritize the measures in accordance with the WHO FCTC and national laws. They have to regulate, including restrict or prohibit as appropriate the manufacture, importation, distribution, presentation, sale, and use of these products. So the national laws have to be used, like India has done this. So the way forward is strong and effective regulatory measures, sustained monitoring and accountability at the country level, strong partnerships and coordination among the stakeholders for enforcing regulatory measures or the bans. As I said, the extreme form of regulation is the ban. So it is just not that, we put in place a ban and then be very happy that, okay, ban is there and now, everything is fine. So it is being enforced. Dr. Rakesh shared with me that video, and Dr. Gupta also mentioned that, that lady who was smoking e-cigarette during this Garba festival. So the ends are available, like Mrs. Sudan mentioned, the intensive effort which the government put in bringing this regulation, in bringing this ban. But then, if we don't enforce it, then it is of no use. So we need to enforce the ban. In fact, now we see that lately there has been so many violations of this cinema, which we have banned on smoking scenes in films, So India is a unique country which is doing that. But then on the OTT platforms and from the period of lockdown, it is in and out. People are smoking, everybody is smoking, women smoking, men smoking, actors smoking, as if we are a smoking country. Every film is showing smoking scene. So this is quite weird, and government has to take strict measures, because I can use this platform to voice my concern, because this is a very, very serious thing which is happening. And then this surrogate ads, they are out there on all the platforms, all, mass media, whether it is electronic media, it is print media, whatever media they are social media now, So that is why youngsters are taking up all these things. And now these ends have become a gateway to actual smoking. This is what we see. This is what the research has been telling us. So the ban is there, but we have to be very careful. We have to see that how these measures are enforced. It's quite a comprehensive ban. It's banning all products. So, but then governments need to see that at national, subnational level, how this is being enforced. And I think they need to call regular meetings and monitoring that what is happening, and just see that what is there at the ground level. Just, having the ban in place is not, kind of a thing which we look forward to. So WHO continues to monitor evidence on these products and reviews its position continuously to ensure its validity and relevance based on the available evidence. So we monitoring, we just see, we provide evidence, we get these e-liquids tested regularly. There are thousands of flavors, combination of flavors which are available, so that, youth are attracted to this, and colorful things and very bright things. And, you'll see that they are available in so many attractive forms and colors and shapes, and, to lure the youth basically to start using these products. So we monitor all this. We are our WHO top lab net all the labs which are there. So we are monitoring the contents, we are monitoring the flavors which are being used in these products, and also WHO top reg, which is a study group on tobacco regulation. We hold regular meetings, we bring the science, and we share evidence with our member states, and to facilitate them to take decisions for policy formulations, policy making, policy synergy. So this is what WHO does. I'm having my meeting expert group consultation to strengthen policies for prevention of tobacco use and new and emerging nicotine products among youth. So this is, we are holding on 27-28 October towards the end of this month. And there also the experts will deliberate, what is being done and what needs to be done more for these things. So that includes tobacco also, not only ends, but then we'll look, because youth is the most vulnerable group now, and we need to protect them. And this is WHO Quit Tobacco app. I am taking this opportunity. So please disseminate this information. This app is available for both Android and iOS versions, not ends, but use the app. Thank you so much for your kind attention.
So thanks a lot, Dr. Jagdish, for letting us know the WHO position. And I may just tell you that IGTC, John Hopkins School of Public Health, they have now in 2022 July, I think they have updated the figures. There are many more countries after the 2020 who have joined the ban.
No, that is not complete ban, because we examine it very closely. And in fact, in my region also there were 6, but now it is 5, because that is not a complete ban. So don't go by those figures. These are the verified figures. Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks a lot. And I may also let all the participants know that Dr. Jagdish is one of the senior most tobacco control enthusiastic, internationally recognized. So thank you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, Dr. Rakesh, now Professor K. Srinath Reddy is, I think, available with us. Please, can you introduce him again and request him?
Yeah, I think I introduced him, Dr. Srinath Reddy. Now you're with us, sir?
Yes, I am with you.
Dr. Reddy, are you with us, sir?
Yeah.
I am with
Oh,
you.
okay, sir. So I already introduced you, and I may just tell again that Dr. Reddy, he is a Padma Bhushan awardee, and he is President of Public Health Foundation of India. So we will hear from him about the major health effects of ants. So thank you, sir.
Well, the only introduction I believe is useful is that I'm proud to be part of the Indian tobacco control community and the global tobacco control community. And I would have very much wanted to be part of this entire event, but I'm right now in the midst of a house shift, and therefore I cannot stay for long. But I thought I must join for a few minutes in order to listen to some of the speakers and then possibly add my voice in endorsing the call, which is coming out unanimously, that electronic nicotine delivery products have no place in our society, nor in low and middle income countries, nor actually anywhere in the global community. I believe when even before the electronic nicotine delivery products were being marketed, when tobacco control was being discussed at the global level, there was not only unanimity of scientific opinion, and especially in the public health community, that tobacco products in any form are dangerous, that nicotine is highly addictive and carries its own adverse health consequences. And the statement most often made by people in the public health community, as well as several of the policymakers and several of the media commentators, was that if the harmful effects of tobacco were clearly recognized decades ago, this should have never been permitted as a legal product. And there was a feeling of repentance that it was ever allowed to be marketed. Now we are reliving that experience when not only we have knowledge about the harmful effects of tobacco, but of electronic nicotine delivery products, where there is sufficient evidence already available that there are several adverse health consequences ranging from fetal life and growth to what happens to adolescent brain and lungs of people who use it at whatever age. And of course, the extremely addictive nature of nicotine. So the harmful health effects are fairly well known. When I was asked to chair an ICMR white paper committee, we clearly laid out all the evidence that was available at that time, a few years ago, which assisted the decision that was taken to ensure that electronic nicotine delivery products have no opportunity to enter the Indian market at all. That position remains unchanged. And indeed, even if UK decides that these carry a lower risk than cigarettes being smoked, nobody there can deny that the best way of dealing with tobacco is, even for people who are consumers of tobacco, is tobacco cessation. And for people who have never attempted tobacco, complete abstinence from tobacco, even from experimentation. So it is a pious statement that the UK health authorities are making. Oh, young people should not take up smoking, though this is a slightly less harmful product or somewhat harmful, less harmful product, and therefore it should not be seen in the same way as cigarettes, but young people should not take it up. That will not wash, because we know that the tobacco industry will aggressively target young people. And the only thing that will go in shorthand is that electronic nicotine products are not harmful. That will be a distortion of truth, that will be injurious to public health, and we must ensure that our stand is undiluted, even if the UK decides through its public health authority to make a different kind of recommendation. Low and middle income countries are extremely vulnerable to tobacco industry marketing pressures and tactics. And even assuming that nicotine delivery products do carry a somewhat lower risk of certain diseases like cancer, certainly vascular disease is still linked to nicotine, but even assuming that the overall risk is slightly lower, the population attributable risk of a very large number of people consuming these products, highly addictive products across the society, is truly appalling to even imagine. So the numbers will be huge. And we are now beginning to recognize that even lung injury takes place frequently for people who are consuming these products. So if people are worried about lung injury from COVID, and we know that COVID does not cause lung injury in everybody, but electronic nicotine delivery products cause severe lung injury, then how can we really say that this is a product that should be permitted into the market? So I believe India's stand is absolutely right. Other low and middle income countries should take up that position. The question, of course, is how do we ensure that, firstly, these products do not have an opportunity to sneak into the market despite the ban? How do we ensure that public awareness is enhanced and the will of the political powers is not weakened, or even judicial authorities recognize and do not pass casual judgments that these are okay to be marketed? I believe there we must really raise public consciousness very strongly, bring in young people very strongly into the movement, because they are the most vulnerable to marketing, and they are the most vulnerable also to the impact of these products. We must use the opportunity to engage with urban and rural local bodies, because now panchayats and urban municipal corporations are being entrusted with primary healthcare. So strong community engagement and vigorous public awareness is going to be important, and that has to be a continued effort. And putting pressure on regulatory authorities that they cannot turn a blind eye to these products being marketed despite the ban. So India must set an example of very good enforcement coupled with very good public education. And of course, we must join hands with other low and middle income countries, because this is a product that can be extremely dangerous, and we don't want to be sitting back 15, 20 years down the road and saying, we wish we had not allowed this to enter the market in such a large manner. We cannot afford to make that mistake all over again. We know that repeatedly arguments like this have been made. Low tar, low nicotine cigarettes were marketed, and it took a while, and they were marketed as milds, but it took a while before the National Cancer Institute published monograph 13 to show very clearly that because of the extremely addictive nature of nicotine, people were actually consuming more cigarettes, and their health consequences were as bad or almost as bad as the other forms of cigarettes with medium tar and medium nicotine. So I do not think we need fresh lessons. We should go ahead and stick to our decision at the national level, vigorously implement it with strong public consciousness raising, particularly letting the youth lead the movement, and then join hands with other low and middle income countries. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks
Thanks a lot, sir.
Okay, carry on, Dr. Rakesh. Carry on.
Yeah, thanks for summarizing the issue so well. So thanks a lot, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Rakesh. Professor Joanna Cohen, who is the director of IGTC, Johnson School of Public Health, Baltimore, who was to join this consultation, could not join because of some unforeseen engagements she has encountered. So she has sent us a video on the global experience of the ANDS and the HTP and the reasons why India must sustain its ban. I'll request Rajeev to play that video. Rajeev, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is Joanna Cohn, and I am the director of the Institute for Global Tobacco Control at the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health in the United States of America. It is my distinct honor to extend my warmest greetings to you, the participants in the national consultation on the ENDS ban in India. I wish I could join you live, but I'm recording these remarks because of the extensive time difference between our two countries. In 2019, India took the bold and critical step of prohibiting the sale of electronic nicotine delivery systems. It is unfortunate that a concerted effort is needed today to defend that action. But we know that this is one of the tried and true tactics of tobacco companies to divert attention away from issues that require our attention, such as closing loopholes in CUTPA regarding smoke-free public places and taps bans, and effective implementation of health warning labels on BDs and packaged smokeless tobacco products. I applaud all of you for participating in this important national consultation, and I want to especially recognize the Strategic Institute of Public Health Education and Research for organizing this event. I wish to make you all aware of a valuable resource you can access during this consultation as well as afterwards. Our free online e-cigarette policy scan provides detailed information about how countries around the world are regulating e-cigarettes. This resource can be accessed at www.globaltobaccocontrol, all one word, globaltobaccocontrol.org. You can search countries' policies by policy domain to learn about how countries are regulating these products with respect to sales, marketing, packaging, product regulation, clean air, and reporting and notification requirements. You can also find out the regulatory mechanism that countries use. That is, whether they apply existing legislation, whether they amended legislation, or whether they introduced a new law, resolution, or decree to address ENDS. In addition, you can determine how countries classify these products, for example, as tobacco products, as medicinal or pharmaceutical products, consumer products, poisons, or they may have their own special classification as ENDS. Based on our most recent update of the policy scan that occurred earlier this year, 85 countries regulate the sale of ENDS, and 28 of these ban the sale of all types of e-cigarettes. Of course, India is one of these countries. 3 additional countries prohibit the sale of nicotine-containing e-cigarettes. You may also find it useful that the policy scan links to the actual wording of the country's policy, so you can read the entire policy for yourself. Remember, you can access the Institute for Global Tobacco Control's e-cigarette policy scan at www.globaltobaccocontrol.org. And we have a lot of other useful free resources at this website, including free online courses that offer certificates of completion. So please look around and explore what we have to offer. I wish you all the very best for a productive national consultation, and I look forward to seeing your draft recommendations. Be well.
So with this, now I invite Dr. Rakesh Gupta, sir, to moderate the panel discussion and finalize the recommendation on these particular issues. So over to Dr. Rakesh Gupta, sir.
Thank you, Rajeev. May I ask all to please mute themselves? Only the speakers may just unmute. And so we have with us Dr. Murli Rao. He is an IRS officer and a deputy director of the DRI Surat. So he is a 2013 batch IRS officer and has worked extensively in Central Excise, GST, and Customs Department of Government of India. And now the current work profile is intelligence and investigative work related to smuggling, customs, duties, frauds, narcotics, tobacco products, etc. And he has been instrumental in confiscating illegal e-products and worth almost 68 lakhs. So thank you for joining, sir. So from Mr. Murli Rao, please, may talk about it, sir. Dr. Murli, are you with us, sir?
Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, good afternoon.
If possible, you can switch on the video if possible. Yeah, you can switch on the video. Yeah.
1 minute.
Yeah, thank you.
Can you see me now?
Yeah, we can see you. Yeah.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. It's first of all, I would like to thank SIPHER for inviting me on the show. So I would like to first brief about the organization I work for. I work for DRI, which stands for Directorate of Revenue Intelligence. We are specialization in customs, frauds, narcotics, mostly anti-smuggling work. So that is our specialty. So in the recent past, the past 1 month, we have got some big consignments of illegal e-cigarettes, which have been imported from China to India in Gujarat region. So the initial seizure was done in September 1st week. That was at Surat. What happened was there was one container which had come from Mundra, as is there, and it was moving towards Bombay. So that container was intercepted near Surat based on the intelligence we had. And the container was declared as normal cheap consumer goods like exercise books, toys, head massager, hair straightener. Those were the kinds of things that are declared on the consignment. But when we are examining the consignment, we came to know that at the end of the container, there are around 107 cartons of e-cigarettes of different flavors and different brands. They were hidden. And in total, we were able to seize around 85,600 pieces of e-cigarettes. That was each having a content of 2,500 puffs. So the market value of each was around 2,000 to 2,500 rupees. So the overall value of the consignment was around 20 crores. That's what we estimated. So all this cargo was going towards Mumbai. It was destined to Mumbai and it was aimed at selling in the Mumbai market. So as a follow-up, we passed our information to DRI Gandhidham unit. We have our unit in Kutch region also. So there the information was passed on, and based on the information and analysis that we did, we were able to intercept another container at Mundra port, and that carried such much bigger consignment that had around 2,400,000 sticks of e-cigarettes. And the market value for that was estimated to be around 48 crores. So that is the kind of work that DRA has done recently in Gujarat region. And I'll be very happy to share you that just yesterday, Mundra Customs has got another consignment of around 41,000 illegal e-cigarettes, which are being imported into India at Mundra port. So overall, if you see in the past 1 month, DRA has taken action and confiscated, DRA and Customs, have taken action and confiscated goods around 68 crores worth of e-cigarettes alone in the past 1 month. So that is the scale of import we are talking about. That is the scale of illegal smuggling that is happening in the field of e-cigarettes and ends products. So the initiative and the action that has been taken by DRI is primarily under the Customs Act, when since the goods are prohibited. So we are seeing this as a illegal import. We are seeing this as a smuggling, and The punishment under smuggling for smuggling under the Customs Act can vary up to imprisonment of 7 years also. So in some cases, I think it is much more stringent than the PECA Act, which I think has a penalty of, I think, imprisonment of only 1 year. So this is the action, and that is being taken by DRI in Customs and Gujarat region on this. Thank you so much.
A lot, Mr. Murli, and thank you for joining us. We know that you are a busy person, and we now come to know that in addition to the PECA Act, so the DRI can also act against the electronic cigarettes. So thanks a lot for joining. So we'll remain in touch with you. We'll be sending you the recommendations, and you may add to it or amend whatever you want, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
So now we have with us Dr. Praveen Gupta, who is the founder, Icon Care, and Director Surgical Oncology, Max Hospital, Noida. So he is mentor to hundreds of people who are CTCS, that means Certified Tobacco Cessation Specialists, including myself and Dr. Rakesh Gupta from RCF. So he's a senior oncologist who is also social activities engaged in creating awareness among the society to diagnose cancer. He did his graduation and post-graduation from Cuttack. And Dr. Pavan has published several papers in national and international journals and is actively involved in various research projects. And he is an active member in Telemedicine Society of India. In his mission to win over cancer, he has come up with a unique methodology approach to quit tobacco. So we'll hear from him why ends are not the choice for tobacco nicotine cessation as claimed by the vape industry or the tobacco industry. So thank you, Dr. Pavan, for joining.
Sir, and thank you so much for your kind introduction. And let me put it in a very clear this thing that I have been working for tobacco cessation as a means of tobacco control. I have been over a period of time tried to, right now probably I would have the largest number of patients across India who have successfully quit tobacco. So with that experience, I can very clearly say that in no case I have ever used ants as a means of alternate to tobacco control or tobacco cessation. Rather, it was never required for any of the patients. And to put it this way, almost 92% of our patients who have been able to quit tobacco, we have used many other medications rather than just using nicotine replacement therapy alone. Nicotine, when we are talking about tobacco cessation requires many more things other than just the medications. As I always tell this thing, that it is A, B, C, D of tobacco cessation. That is what I always train my all the doctors. A is for active motivation, B is for behavioral therapy, C is for comorbidity management, and D is for the drugs or the other things that may be required for these patients. Drugs comes the last thing that is these patients require, but the most important is the motivation and the comorbidity management that can actually give a ultimately a complete cessation for these patients. As when we are talking about an alternate to tobacco cessation, like using ants as an alternate, let me put it this way: nicotine replacement therapy, we have got ample of them. Like the patches are there, the lozenges are there, the gums are there, which can be used as an alternate to this cigarette smoking or for any of even for the smokeless tobaccos. We don't need to have harm reduction where we have got complete medications which can really help them without causing any harm to these patients. And more than that, this nicotine replacement therapies are a means for behavioral changes. So when you're using ants, actually you're not changing the behavior for the patient, rather you are adding another behavior to the patient. So very fundamentally, this doesn't come into the picture as that it can be used as a nicotine replacement therapy or in a harm reduction product for nicotine cessation program. So I very strongly feel, and if it was just for the harm reduction or if it was for nicotine replacement therapy, then there was no need to use or to put them in so many packages, such flavors and other things for these patients. we could have marketed them as a drug which was specifically used for the medication purpose, rather than putting them in the community or marketing them freely in the market. So I think this is just a disguise to get the youngsters into getting this medication into nicotine or into addictions. So I think I strongly say that there is no need for ants as a means of nicotine cessation. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Pawan. And I totally agree with you. When DCGI approved products, the NRT products are available, then why add to another addiction in the form of ants? So thanks a lot. So now we have with us Dr. Rakesh Gupta. He is President, Rajasthan Cancer Foundation, and he works as an honorary consultant in Santokba Durlabji Memorial Hospital Institute at Jaipur, Rajasthan. A former associate professor, surgical oncology, and a TMH alumni of mid-80s. He was WHO DG World No Tobacco Day awardee for CRO in 2013. And he represents India at Asia Pacific Quitline Network since 2012. And he has been working for over a decade and a half in tobacco cessation as an advocate, master trainer, researcher, and an author. And I may just tell you that he is one of the senior most tobacco cessation specialists in India, and maybe internationally also. So Dr. Gupta will like to hear from you why ants are not the choice for tobacco nicotine cessation. You may add to what Dr. Praveen Gupta has already told us. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rakesh, and greetings to all. I think our position in India is very clear that ants is not the tool for delivery of the tobacco cessation. However, when we see the world literature, and I have reviewed the literature from 2013 to till date, the more and more reports are emerging, mostly from UK, that there is a role for the ants in tobacco cessation, and the results show that there is a modest certainty. But the power of evidence or the strength to evidence is weak, because the number of studies which are there are very small in number. However, the reports do not say that the unwanted side effects are more than the usual NRT. Nonetheless, most of the reports, I would say, do not recommend at the moment the ants as the tobacco cessation delivery tool very emphatically, because we still do not know the long-term harmful effects of that. There is one point that we need to note is that those who are recommending ants for tobacco cessation, they also mention that it is the quality of the ants which matters. And with so many hundreds and thousands of ants which are available in the market, it is one thing which will be very difficult to decide. Nonetheless, to our discussion, it is irrelevant that we talk about the role of ants in tobacco cessation, because to us, really, it should never ever be a matter of concern. What we require, as Dr. Kaur has said, that we must have stronger enforcement drives to see that the violation doesn't occur of PECA. And I personally feel that the WHO should take a stand, or WHO CRO should take a stand on the prohibition of ants in our region very strictly. So this is my submission for the role of ants in tobacco cessation. Over to you, Dr. Arun.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Rakesh. I think you have summarized the issue very well, why the ants are not the choice for tobacco cessation. So now we have Mr. Ranjit Singh with us. He'll be talking on challenges in enforcing PECA 2019 and how PECA 2019 has been enforced in some states and UTs in India. Mr. Ranjit Singh has been providing consultancy support guidance to the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India, National Institute for Cancer Prevention and Research, NICPR, and civil societies on public health laws for more than a decade. He has also contributed in drafting laws on smoke-free public places, prohibition on tobacco advertising, promotion and sponsorship, regulation of display use, in films, prohibition on sales of minors. So he has been with us for more than a decade into this tobacco control, and he has been with us all along when we were planning to get the ends banned. So Mr. Ranjit, so we'd like to hear about the challenges in enforcing PECA 2019. Thank you.
So thank you, Dr. Rakesh, in fact, for inviting me and arguing on such a important topic. I think we have gone beyond discussing whether we need an ends ban or not. It's like the law is there, and the law is very comprehensive. Very few countries have what we have. I think we are one of the only countries that has a very comprehensive ban on all modes of e-cigarettes, whether it is electronic nicotine delivery system, whether it is electronic non-nicotine delivery system, and even heated tobacco products. Other thing is that this is one of the only laws, because when we were drafting the ordinance, we were looking at other laws, which has got very detailed procedure of how the implementation has to be, whether it is for the search and seizure, or and presenting it before the court, or the disposal, and who are the authorized officers, who can act, which law to apply. So essentially, this is a very comprehensive act that bans all kind of electronic nicotine delivery system. It has got it has this thing. It bans manufacture, sale, storage, transport, advertisement through all the new mediums, and then it gives a very detailed procedure on how the enforcement officer, which your police, is going to go and seize the material, which law, CRPC, the Criminal Procedure Code, they will have to apply. Then how will they present it to the court? Which judicial magistrate of the first class, judicial magistrate of the first class, where the case is going to be presented? And then once the conviction happens, how it would be disposed, these electronic, that also has been given. The other salient feature of this act is that there is also an immunity given to the law enforcers, that if in case you do any act in furtherance of this law, no suit or case can be filed. So overall, a very comprehensive act with detailed procedure, with detailed offenses. But the issue is, why are we discussing it? Is that why is it that there's a poor implementation? One of the issues that I've seen is the lack of priority. So who's the authorized officer under this act present? It is basically the police. So for the police, it becomes a lack of priority. If you see the enforcement, our previous speakers are saying, is largely at the port, at the place of entry. So you see a lot of enforcement happening at the ports, like the Mundra, this thing where it was declared as a toy, and the seizure worth 48 crores happened. Even recently, Surat also seizure happened. Even in Hyderabad airport, the seizure happens. But what is the seizure and the action is not being taken is at the local police level, is at the local this thing. And that's when we see violation happens. You can walk into the nearby shops and you would possibly see the Chinese make there. And these are all smuggled. So in the port of entry, at the place of entry, the enforcement is good. But once it comes inside, then there is a challenge, because it's not this thing. Now, so what can we do on this? And this thing, the government, the ministry has been writing to all state government saying that, please effectively enforce. They've been pointing out to the police and other departments. Some of the states have taken a good initiative where they have authorized, like Jammu and Kashmir have authorized drugs inspector also to enforce this act. So there are some positive this thing also. On our part, we have to focus on two things: raising the awareness. So one of the challenges I saw is that we have not been making ends in a major part of our training workshop or something, which we need to do, because I think except National Law School, who's comprehensively doing it, there are other institutes also that have to bring it up. And in that case, I see that the day-to-day challenges in the field, like I have received a lot of calls where the enforcement officer asks for a certification, saying that how is it ends? Who will certify? For a product which is banned, you do not have that unless the person from whom you have seized is making. It's like your drugs. If you seize a drugs, if the person is saying, no, it's not drug, it's some talcum powder, you'll have to then test it to prove it. And so e-cigarette, even when the person who you seized is not contesting, you end up, the enforcement officer to delay. They say that, who will certify, how would we know it has nicotine? So all that challenges that happen, which can only be done away with if we have more awareness on this issue, especially on the law enforcement. Also authorize additional officers, I feel, and have clear guidelines. I think some of the recommendation we've already given. So by and large, I see a very good response coming recently in last 1 or 2 months, where there have been major enforcement drives. But then those drives are mostly focused near the ports and the airport. I would recommend more stringent enforcement at the local level, which is your, either online and this thing, and as well as on the local shops. For that, you need to create awareness on so who is the concerned person here for the local enforcement is the Ministry of Home Affairs, that they are the focus point that you have to focus. Who is the enforcement for online thing? I want to tell you that the director of National Tobacco Control Cell has been the authorized for looking into online violation. So these are two focal points that we need to focus and we need to bring to their notice to pursue this. And I don't think we should, let our guards down. We've had major work. It's only that you see PECA right now, but nobody says that since 2013 the Punjab government started it, and then there were the other states that followed, and we had almost 18 states coming with a ban before this law came out. So there was a good movement to enforcement. We just need to kind of sensitize the enforcement officers and focus more on good implementation. Otherwise, every now and then you hear that the vape industry or somebody, they're trying to come back and try to somehow derail the act, and they want to, wriggle out of it. So good law, we just need strong enforcement. Some are, like I've already said, we need to sensitize. Thank you.
Thank you, Ranjit. So I agree that this is the only issue left now, since we have a very good act, and the enforcement of the act has to be throughout India. So all the states and UTs, they need to act upon it. So now we have with us Ms. Susan Sampson, and she is a Master of Social Work from Baroda. She has been in the field of addiction, HIV/AIDS, tobacco control. She has been awarded as the best youth for notable work amongst the rural youth in the year 2006. She is Anti-Drug Hero Award. She has got the Anti-Drug Hero Award by the Commissioner of Police. So she'll be sharing with us experiences from Gujarat. So some of the experience have been shared by the DRI, Mr. Murli Rao, IRS. And she will also be sharing some experiences regarding PECA implementation. So thank you, Samson, for joining us.
A very good afternoon to everyone. Thank you, sir, for inviting me. Thank you, Murli, sir, for accepting our invitation on behalf of SIPHER and sharing your experiences with the DRI confiscations and raids. I am honored to share what has been done in Gujarat as part of I'm trying to slide. Yeah, I'm trying to put in the slides. Okay, this was the genesis is from Gujarat banning the bill banning e-cigarettes. It starts there, and there we've seen this a lot of confiscations being done in the past 1 or 2 months, is because there's a standing order from the Home Minister of Gujarat, Harsh Sanghvi, regarding any kind of drugs, and of late you must be not only hearing about confiscations of e-cigarettes, but also other drugs also. So in response to the standing order by Minister Harsh Sanghvi, there have been raids that have started as old as not only, and I remember mentioning Dr. Ranjit Singh just now, that even by the local police, there is not much being done. But we've seen that in Gujarat, the first seizure which was done was way back in February 26. This is just some work that I could do and find on online. And this was done by the police SOG group, meaning the SOG police, the local police from Ahmedabad and in Surat as well, meaning wherein 1.25 lakh worth e-cigarettes were seized way back in February 26 to 2022. Followed by this, there was a seizure, a raid done by Kandraj police in Ahmedabad, wherein they seized e-cigarettes under PECA itself. It is mentioned that the case was registered under section 7 and 8 of e-cigarettes, and it was around worth 19,000 rupees. Cigarettes worth 19,000 rupees. We are very well aware by now the case of Mundra Port and the Surat Palsana case, which has been shared by Murli Rao sir. Of late, and I mentioned, I remember mentioning Dr. Rakesh Gupta also saying, Dr. Prakash Gupta also mentioning about the girl moving in the Garba rounds and smoking e-cigarettes in public places. Action has been initiated and arrests have been made of the local pawn shop owners by the Vadodara police as well. This was a case that was viral from the internationally acclaimed Navratri Garbas. And following this also, a lot of vendors have been, the seizures and raids are going on in Vadodara right from that day onwards. And every day e-cigarettes are being seized by the SOG, by the PCB police unit, and even the under the standing instructions of the Commissioner of Police Vadodara. Just yesterday, and Ranjit ji was mentioning that there is a lot of confiscation that has been done at the airports. Ahmedabad, this is the recent case, and I happened to just go through it in the night and just got a Gujarati version of it, wherein a girl acquired 15 e-cigarette were costing 1,500 from a local shop nearby the airport. And this just comes to prove that the availability of e-cigarettes is very, accessibility and availability to the adolescents is very much. I just have two possible questions, or as I was trying to find the data online on confiscations that have been done, raids that have been done in Gujarat. One very interesting thing was when I wrote e-cigarettes and Surat, I could see a lot of shops that were listed in Gujarat, in Vadodara, in Surat, that flamboyantly show that we are selling off e-cigarettes. So whilst we are talking about implementation, my major question would be, and to the honorable stalwarts and specialists who are in the consultation that we are discussing, how do we, and especially to Ranjit ji, how do we ensure that at a local level that these things are not available online? Because all of acquiring is not just over the counter, but also online. And there are a lot of shops that are available online that are providing in Gujarat right now. I mean, I know for Vadodara and Surat that they are being done. And these are the cases that we could come across about e-cigarettes that have been done in Gujarat. So my question as we go through the consultation will majorly be this, that online is one of the things that we need to focus upon also. So thank you, Dr. Gupta, for giving me this time, and I hope it's a good sharing.
Thanks a lot for sharing with us the action being happening in Gujarat, and it is wonderful because many, very few states or UTs, they are actually enforcing PECA 2009. In addition to that action by the DRA, that was excellent. And I think all the SNOs in the state of under the TCP, they must invite you for sensitizing police people. Yes. So this is the only thing to be done because the enforcement is required to be done by the police. So all the police officials, they need to be sensitized about this issue. So thanks a lot. Thank you. Yes, Rajeev. Can you show the slide of Mr. Dr. Upendra Bhujani? So, Dr. Upendra, are you with us?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay. So, Dr. Upendra Bhujani is director of the IPH, and he'll be talking about the tobacco industry or the vape industry interference in enforcement of PECA 2019. I may tell you that the e-cigarettes are mostly being now produced by the tobacco industry, the big tobacco industry. So Dr. Upendra, he graduated as a dentist and taught at the Government Dental College and Hospital in Ahmedabad before transiting to public health. So he did his master's degree in public health with a major in health promotion at Deakin University, Melbourne. He's currently director and the DBT that Wellcome Trust India Alliance Fellow. He earned his PhD in Public Health and Health Sciences from Ghent University, and he teaches health ethics, urban health, the political economy of the health, and he has worked a lot in this tobacco industry interference. And he is a fellow of the Johns Hopkins Global Tobacco Control Leadership Program in 2010. So you're welcome, Dr. Upendra. Please let us know about the vape industry interference in enforcement of PECA 2019. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for this opportunity. It's my privilege. I'll keep my video off given that I'm joining from my phone and I'm not sure how great my internet would be. I hope you're able to hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you very well.
Okay, we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So I guess, I mean, we have seen a lot of interference from vape industry and also tobacco industry, both in policy making, while there was policy being made around ENDS in India, essentially the ban of ENDS, but also afterwards, both in implementation of the ban, and we continue to see such interference aimed at reversal of the ban in the country. So there are several tactics which have been used. I think many of you are aware that there have been litigations, mainly in high courts across various states in India, challenging the earlier ENDS ban by states. There is also a lot of very heavy lobbying efforts especially by groups like Vapers India or Center for Harm Reduction Alternative. These groups claim to be user groups. But also lately we saw the emergence of more trading groups called trends, trade representative of ENDS. And all these groups have used media, but also opportunity to reach out to policymakers on ENDS policy. We also saw interference around science. I think it has come out earlier. I think many non-Indian scientists also came to India, and there were a lot of scientific events organized. A response paper was wrote to the ICMR, a white paper on ENDS, sort of disputing some of those claims. And also there were efforts to involve some of the leading clinical figures from India. So there were various sort of such strategies which were used. Maybe I'll make some observations towards in my talk because I do feel, I think I start from what Dr. Gupta said, that more or less tobacco industry is also the one which produces ENDS. And this is very true globally. It was true in the beginning in India also, but I think I have some observations from my ongoing work with tobacco industry in terms of how there are certain unique ways in which we see political economy of tobacco and e-cigarettes in India. So some of you will remember that I think one of the largest cigarette manufacturer, ITC, came out with e-cigarette brand. I think it was called Eon or something. This is the early times of ENDS in India. And during this time, some states, Punjab, Karnataka, others, started prohibiting ENDS at state level. And this is the time we saw ITC reaching out to governments, offering support to create a regulatory policy for ENDS. So clearly we saw this, how tobacco industry, which was also producing ENDS within India, reached out to governments to say, let's have some sort of clear regulatory framework. maybe in an effort to avoid these outright bans, which state governments had started putting on ban. But then something very interesting happened. We generally know that companies are far more capable in knowing what goes on, what transpires in policy circles than many of us as tobacco control advocates. And somehow we see a reversal in ITC's position, where ITC kind of withdrew its electronic cigarette brand. And what is interesting is we started seeing that ITC kind of never resisted END's ban kind of a discourse, you know. And I'm not sure if some of you can enlighten me. I have a hypothesis that probably ITC was in support of banning ENDs. And I think that works for them because it not only avoids competition from e-cigarettes, potential competition from e-cigarettes of a cigarette market, because ITC is kind of a monopoly in India in cigarette sector. But then interestingly, ITC also started manufacturing plants for nicotine extracts, right? Which is basically considered to be the major raw material for e-cigarettes and largely for export. So it's interesting because it's kind of a double win for a cigarette company in India. We also see similar dynamics among farmers groups. You know, we had differing positions of tobacco farmers groups in India. There were sections of farmers groups which were not opposing END's ban. So in some sense, they were in favor of banning ENDs, largely farmers who were engaged in FCA tobacco, because we also understand that many times cigarette industry has extended a lot of support to such farmers groups. But we also had farmers groups, largely from the Bidi belt, I think from Gujarat, who also kind of wanted ENDs to happen because they recognize that nicotine will be still a major raw material in these products. I think slowly as the time passed, we also realized that so-called user groups like Vapers India or Center for Harm Reduction Alternatives were probably not a genuine user groups because while they claimed so, I was able to find some evidence that, you know, there was a common leadership across these groups. And especially in one of the public interest litigation, which was done by this group in Karnataka High Court, challenging the ban on ENDs, actually it came out that they submitted that yes, there is an industry interest, there is a commercial interest among this group in ENDs. And that's why Karnataka High Court got quite disappointed, saying that how can you come with a PIL, public interest litigation, when you have a commercial interest in the industry, and actually not only discarded the PIL, but it also put a fine penalty on the petitioner. So this makes it clear that I think it was probably not just genuine public groups, but they were probably working as front groups of the ENDs industry. Also, I think one unique thing we see around ENDs industry is that it is extremely active on social media. I think many of you who are on social media, be it Twitter or Facebook, certainly would have faced wrath of intense trolling by people around ENDs. And interestingly, when one of the researchers from University of Bath, which does excellent work on tobacco industry interference, when he reached out to me some year ago, because they were trying to use big data, largely social media data, to map industry activism, and they found that I think the India was prominently figuring in terms of use of social media, and these were largely the vapor groups that were active on social media. So I think in general, I won't take more time. I think it's quite clear that we still keep seeing such interference. In fact, if you look at tobacco industry interference index reports, which are available in public domain for last 4 years in India, you will invariably see in the examples mentioned there of how still various ENDs groups are still sort of trying to reach out to policymakers with a very clear position. In fact, many times they use human rights narrative, which is very ironical because I think somewhere they have adopted the language of human rights in terms of harm reduction, as far as harm reduction is concerned. But I think earlier speakers made it very, very clear why ENDs are not a good as harm reduction measure, why we don't probably need harm reduction. And in fact, if you really see harm reduction as a public health approach, there are many corner principles around harm reduction in public health, which does not support a commercialized free market products. right? If you look at opium, we do harm reduction. We do believe in harm reduction in opium addiction. But these are prescription substances. These are harm reduction strategies are supported right from the beginning to the end by the healthcare systems. They are often subsidized, and the end goal of harm reduction is never sustaining people on those addictive products. Is always to help people get out of addiction. While if you look at who are producing e-cigarettes, it's very clear that even the industry itself never mentions that the end goal is really to completely wean off people of e-cigarettes. So I hope I convince you that there remains a significant interference by web groups, and there are some unique dynamics around tobacco industry and vape industry in India, which we don't so much see as far as global tobacco industry is concerned. Thank you. Back to you, Dr. Gupta.
So thanks a lot, Dr. Upinder. And I may just add to it that we in Punjab, when we banned e-cigarettes in 2013, we faced a lot of tobacco industry or the vape industry interference from the manufacturers. And I may also tell you that ITC also launched a ENDS product by the name of Eon, but they introduced only in Calcutta, and when we banned in Punjab, they stopped producing it. So thanks a lot. And I'll request all the participants to please switch on the video for a snapshot before we propose a vote of thanks. Please switch on the video, please. So we have with us Peter, Dr. Peter Uko from South Africa. So you're welcome, sir. So thanks for joining us. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, my pleasure. Lovely meeting, lovely information, delightful to learn all this new stuff for us in South Africa to use. Thank you.
So I hope you liked all the deliberations. Thank you. Thank you. Rajeev, do you have the snapshots now?
Yes, sir. Done, sir.
सबकी होगी?
Yes, sir.
Sir, I'm very sorry to interfere. I think we are ending, but I just forgot one important point to mention, that now that we have policies in line with Article 5.3 of FCTC, at least at state level and certainly at the level of the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare at Government of India level, I think what is immediate need is to expand the scope of such policies to include e-cigarette industry. Now that it is clear that we have banned e-cigarettes, I think otherwise we will still see continuing interactions and lobbying efforts by the industry.
So I agree, totally agree. Thank you. Thank you. So may I request Ms. Vibhusha Sood to please propose the formal vote of thanks. Thank you. Yes, Vibhusha.
Rakesh, may I make a point? I think that is not
sure.
Is the interference by so-called foreign experts who come to India and advise us that this is wrong move. And there are many Indian so-called experts, public health people, doctors who join and write articles in media, popular media, again advising that this is a wrong approach and there should be harm reduction and all that. And this is all a wider part of industry interference. I think all of us have to be very careful and mindful of such interference. Thank you, Rakesh.
Yeah. So they are all trying to get this act repealed as soon as possible. So
just to add here, sir, all these doctors and so-called healthcare professionals who are writing these articles, they have no experience themselves. Probably they are paid agents, and they themselves probably are the smokers themselves, right? So whoever writes this article, we should take action against them as well. That should be our because we should stand up, find out why they are proposing, or why they are asking for such that it should be again introduced into India.
In fact, that is left to co-professionals, Pawan, because others cannot take the action against doctors who say something. So it's mostly co-professional, and we know that they are not from the field, because I think by now people like us and many others over here, they know practically everybody who is active in the field of tobacco control. So we know that they have
any person who is advocating ends as a means of tobacco cessation actually has no experience at all.
Yeah.
Dr. Pavan, yes.
Just,
Dr. Rakesh, in fact, it is not action taking, but rather countering. So in the past, Dr. Gupta may remember that when almost 120 plus experts, they came in support of ants. So they were countered by the people who do not agree with them. So even countering them, even in official journals and in media, that is very much possible. That is something which we can always plan if we have a very comprehensive this group to look at all those issues related to India.
See, one thing that I have been.
But Dr. Rana, I think even IMA and NMC, they can find out how they can act against such people who just get these reports published or the articles published just for the sake of money. I think some action can be taken. Yeah.
Yes, and through union we have been able to stop at least 4 such funding in our country.
That is great. That is great.
So that is something which Dr. Rakesh Gupta ji want to say something.
Yes, sir.
I just want to give the counter view because, identifying with the clinicians and the doctors, when they read the journals which are of repute and where the ends is supported for tobacco cessation with the evidence which is sort of sometimes motivating you to use it. And that's how the clinical practice runs. There are newer products which come in the market and the doctors get motivated to use them. And I would not say that the intent is always just to earn the money, but it is just to also help the patient. But I think those who have not got an idea of how the tobacco control works, or those who do not have the idea of the challenges of the implementation of PECA and the harms of ants, perhaps these are the people who require more knowledge. So I would say that giving them more information also is very important on the academic platforms. That why we are not supporting ants use in tobacco cessation, and that is a necessity as well. I mean, this is what I want to say.
Yes, very right, sir. So that is something which is currently required. So even in few of instances, I won't blame those our own medical fraternity people who accepted that kind of sport, because we were rather it is on us. We were unable to explain to them. So I think that is very important point. Thank you, Dr. Keshi.
Yeah, when you read the Cochrane reviews or you read the Circulation Journal or Tobacco Control, and then there are reports, why you not sort of try and get into that, that yes, okay, let's also see if the harm is less, why not? It's confusing. As a clinician, I found it many times that why are we not supporting? But yes, we have other challenges. That's why we cannot allow the ants in India. That's a regional or a kind of country-based situation we have.
So, Dr. Rakesh, thanks a lot. And I think we need to conclude with the formal vote of thanks. So let's have a vote of thanks from Vibhisha. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir, Dr. Vibhusha is disconnected due to internet.
Yeah,
so I will propose vote of thanks on behalf.
Okay.
Yeah. So I, Mr. Rajeev, on behalf of SIPHER and Resource Center for Tobacco Control, PGI Chandigarh, extend my heartiest vote of thanks to one and all present here. We express our heartfelt gratitude to our senior resource persons, Dr. P.C. Gupta, sir, Director, Healis, Sekhsaria Institute of Public Health, Professor K. Srinath Reddy, sir, President, PHFI, and Ms. Preeti Sudan, ma'am, former Secretary, MOHFW, and Dr. Rana J. Singh, Deputy Regional Director, the Union, and Dr. Jagdish Kaur, Regional Advisor, Tobacco Free Initiative, WHO, Southeast Asia region, who agreed to be a part of this important discussion, and also Professor Johanna, Director, IJTC, John Hopkins School of Public Health, on very short notice. And your deemed presence has facilitated the discussion to achieve its desired goal, objective, and outcome. I extend my special thanks to our panelists of the panel discussion, Sri Murli Rao, Dr. Praveen Gupta, and Dr. Rakesh Gupta, sir, Mr. Ranjit Singh, Ms. Susan Sampson, and Dr. Upendra Bhojani, from Bangalore, IPH Bangalore, who join us as a resource person, as a panelist, and give your view on this very hot topics. So thank you all for joining us. And last but not the least, I want to thank and congratulate the organizing team under the leadership of Dr. Rakesh Gupta sir, who do not leave any stone untouched for success of this particular consultation. And I request everyone to reach us through our websites for more information related to this topic. Thank you all for joining us today.
So thank you, Rajeev. Thank you also. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Great.
So we will pause the